I'm of the opinion that those of us in general management roles, if I were to estimate it, we're a good 6 to 7 years behind our friends in sales and marketing with regards to really knowing about the Latino segment, right? Because if you think about it, our friends in sales and marketing, when they want to connect with more Latino consumers, they do the research, they segment our population. They know that if you want to sell to my dad, you do this, this, and this. If you want to sell to me, you do something different. If you want to sell to my boys, something totally different, right? Because they know that much about us. We really need to learn a little bit from the playbook of our friends in sales and marketing to say, hey, what more do we need to know about the Latino and Latino professional that might help us more effectively target our messaging, our recruitment advertising, and our employment brand from a perspective of an employer, right? We need to do more of that. We can help close that gap because you'll be amazed how much we don't know about this segment yet. And what I would encourage you to do, when you're looking at your Latino talent programs, is to say, hey, before you start talking about your Latino talent acquisition, your recruiting initiatives, before you talk about retention, before you talk about the Latino, how do we accelerate their development, you need a more foundational base of knowledge. And then I also think it's important to understand what's trending in the Latino community, because there's some things right now with regards to with the Latino professionals and our experience in corporate America that is shifting. And we as employers, we as corporate citizens, we need to understand what those shifts are so we can better create programs that will help these folks who are going to be the future of our workforce, right? Make no bones about it, people. The workforce of the future is going to have an increasingly Latino identity, right? It just will. So those of you who understand that and get ahead of that curve are going to have that competitive advantage. And not to scare any of you, but having worked with some companies that I consider are doing this and have really sophisticated and rigorous Latino talent management programs, they're starting to pull away from the rest of you who don't. In that gap, you run the risk that pretty soon they're over-indexed on their ability to hire top Latino talent. And if you don't start closing that gap, pretty soon it's going to be too big for you to be able to close it. I said, well, do you know what the difference between term Latino and Hispanic is? No. Do you know what the average age of Latinos are? Nope, don't have a clue. What size of consumer spend? They usually tend to know that one, right? Because they're thinking dollar signs. Number 4, I'll be surprised how many companies don't know that. And I'll say, and I'll put them on the spot, right? I'll say, number 4, that's the easiest question on there. Being Latino, it is and sometimes you hear a little silence because they're not sure, right? I'll say, hey, being Latino is an ethnicity. It's not a race. It's not based on our, physical features. So that's why you'll see some executives feel a bit embarrassed when they'll say things like, well, she didn't look Latina, right? I'm like, well, really, what does a Latino look like, right? They don't know that Latinos, we can be blonde hair and blue eyes, or we can be Afro-Latino, right? Anything in between. Latino birth to death ratio. This is what's driving a lot of this growth, right? Again, a couple data points just for comparison purposes. Anglo community in the U.S., birth to death ratio about 1.3 to 1. Black African American birth to death ratio in the U.S. of 1.2, about the same, 1.2.5 to 1. So for every black African American that passes away in the U.S. today, they're replaced by 1.25 black African American children, right? So they're growing, but not at a very fast rate, right? Now you compare that to the Latino birth to death ratio. You guys know what that is? What is it? Would you take a guess? I just gave you 2 data points. What would you say the Latino birth to death ratio is? Any guesses? 3 to 1? 8 to 1. For every Latino right now that passes away in the U.S., they're being replaced by 8.